Hey everybody, how you doing, everyone? How's it going, Dave?
Good, thank you, Andrew.
Kristina?
Hi, good.
Lisa?
Hi, darling.
Tim?
Hey, great. How's it going, Andrew?
Good. So people should be coming in. So everyone who's coming in, welcome everybody. Let us know where you're watching from. People have been shy lately. Not commenting as much as they used to.
It's early for some folks.
That's right.
On the West Coast, anyway.
And yes, this will be recorded.
Yeah, always the question.
You were saying, Lisa?
I was just saying it for some of us on a weekend, it's still early on the West Coast. Not me, but other folks.
I was thinking
I've been up since, let's see, West Coast time. I've been up since 3.
Oof.
Whoa.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Not on a Saturday.
I think I need to schedule on Sundays on my calendar to sleep late.
Right? You got to
Like, just
schedule
write it
in
in.
time. Yes. Well, Christina's got toddlers, man. There's no sleeping in. What do you know?
So we have Jonna from northeastern North Carolina.
Nice.
Let us know where you're watching from. And let's see, we got Rajesh from Woodbury. I think that's Minnesota. And we have Roland.
Woohoo!
Roland says, what an awesome crowd you have here, Photoshop gurus.
We like to think so.
Shout out. Yeah, Roland
Until the
does
next
great
generation
stuff.
comes up.
Roland does some great stuff, especially in the Adobe Express reality.
Oh, fantastic.
Used to be Adobe. They changed the name. It was Adobe Creative Cloud Express, and I think they got too much feedback saying you need to shorten that. So.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Can we just talk about the people that name things at Adobe for a moment?
Philippines.
Yeah.
Hey, I was born in the
1 a.m.
Philippines.
It's dedicated. 1 a.m. here in the Philippines. Thanks for being here, Roland.
Die hard. Dedicated.
Yeah, that's serious.
Great. All right, so seems like people are coming in now. So Dave, do you want to introduce yourself and talk a bit about the Photoshop Virtual Summit?
Sure. My name's Dave Cross. I started using Photoshop last week. Just kidding. 2 years ago, I had this crazy idea to do a virtual Photoshop conference right when the pandemic started, since all the in-person events were being canceled left, right, and center. So it meant that people didn't have anywhere to go, and my instructor friends and I had nowhere to teach. So 2 years ago, I did the first Photoshop Virtual Summit, and it was a roaring success in the sense of we had lots of people attend and we had amazing feedback. So now this is Photoshop Virtual Summit number 4, based on the most common question that I usually get at the end of these is, when's the next one? And my first reaction is, give me a second to catch my breath, and then we'll start another one. So basically, it's a 5-day online event, all Photoshop, 20 instructors, 20 world-class instructors teaching 2 classes each, so 40 classes spread out over 5 days. And the best part is you can watch for free. We have a free pass that gives you 48 hours of access. So in other words, once Monday's classes start, you have until Wednesday to watch those classes. Tuesday's classes go till Thursday, etc. And then there's also a VIP pass, which I'm sure we'll talk about in more detail later, which gets you lifetime access to all the classes, plus all kinds of extra bonuses. But ultimately, it's just one big, happy Photoshop learning experience.
Great. And I just wanted to show real quick the graphic. So many people here. So how many instructors is it? 20?
20 instructors.
Nice.
Actually, this year, technically, it's 20 instructors plus 1 bonus instructor. For VIPs, they get a chance to enjoy an exclusive class from the one and only Bert Monroy. Is going to be doing a class for VIP people.
Nice. Excellent. So let's go around the room. So Kristina, do you want to introduce yourself and talk about your session that you'll be presenting?
Sure, absolutely. So I am Kristina Sherk from Shark Pixel, and I am going to be teaching 2 classes. I'm really excited about them. One is Concept to Completion, and it's all about creating realistic or surreal, like not realistic composites. And I have, over the pandemic, been using my children as my models. And so I'll show you 2 of the 3 composites that I'm going to kind of deconstruct and show you how I got from step A to completion. And so I'll go ahead and switch over to my screen so that we
Okay.
can see. You guys let me know when you're seeing my screen.
Umbrella, right?
Yeah, so this is U is for umbrella. And so our beginning shot is this. And so we get from here to here in the first composite, that in one of the composites that I speak about. And then this one is the other one. So here is our before and our after. This is B is for
no kids
babysitter.
were harmed in the creating of that. So.
Correct. No children were ever actually taped to the wall. So please do not call Child Protective Services on me. Thank you
Yeah, I was
very
going to
much.
ask how many rolls of duct tape went into that image.
Yeah, exactly. It was 1, and I teach you how to replicate it in the class. But yeah, so that's it. That's all I've got for you.
Yeah, it looks nice. I like the blue
yeah.
haze too. That's quite nice.
I wanted it to be a little bit as if, so we'll come back to me if we can. I wanted it to look like a TV was illuminating us. So I put a teal gel on a little soft box right by the camera to make it appear like, it was a TV lighting us. So
Great.
yeah.
So Andrew, one of the things that I love about that idea for Christy's class was sometimes you'll see someone teach a compositing tutorial and they're like, here's 5 images I took and now I'll put them all together, done. And it's like, well, there's a lot more to it than that. There's the actual planning it out and the thought process and the experimenting. And so seeing kind of a behind the scenes from the original concept through to completion, I thought was a really interesting way to look at projects like those.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does, like you say, when you're especially in the creative phase of creating them, you really have to have your idea planned out first before you shoot the stuff, because you have to keep in mind perspective. You have to keep in mind making sure that your lighting across images is consistent and that your colors are consistent. And some of that you can do in Photoshop, and some of it you really need to get right in camera. But the more you get right in camera for the different images, the better the end product is going to end up being. So we talk a lot about consistency. We talk about tripods and how important they are. And I start with a really easy composite, which I don't have up at the moment to show, but that's Q is for core and toddler. And so that one, it was just a tripod. Well, I don't want to give too much away, right? I don't want to give too much away, but I do give you tips for like how to, capture these things and kind of get to that final phase. And then I also talk about struggles with creativity. So like I really battle to come up with the initial ideas for the composites. And so I talk about some tips for what you can do for that. And then the other class that I have is an AI portraits class, all of the new AI technology that's been coming out for portraits and how portrait photographers need to know about this stuff because it's extremely important. And if there's something that can make your job faster and easier, you really need to know how to do it. And then for our VIP members, I also have a course just for them, which is one-click skin smoothing. So integrating some action like tools. Was I lost? I thought I froze.
Just for a second.
Oh, okay. So action
you were just
tools
saying
and then AI tools, action tools and AI tools, and putting them together, and it's going to be a good class for the VIP members.
Excellent. Cool. And Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself and let us know what you will be presenting?
Absolutely. So, hi, gang. My name is Lisa Carney, and I am a photographer and a finisher in the entertainment industry. So I work a lot on movie posters and entertainment style product stuff, like celebrity endorsement kind of product stuff. So I do a lot of beauty, and I've got 2 classes. One of them is a deconstructing projects, and it's really an entertainment based class. So I talk a little bit about entertainment art and what we do and what you're looking for and what styles they are. Because like Kristina was saying, you have to have a plan. You have to have an idea of what you're trying to create sometimes to get down the road, especially professionally. And so hopefully that'll be a little aspirational or inspiring, get some ideas there. And then I talk about a lot of techniques, like for coloring, some different ways of doing colorization. And I do a lot of my work based on hoping you guys are going to get work. Like it's a production work, career thing, just not just hobbyist kind of work. And not that you can't be a hobbyist and do this kind of stuff. And then the second class is all about retouching under the gun. Like you have hardly any time to get your job done. What are you going to do? And I go through that process about prepping your job. What are you looking for? How do you communicate with your client? And then how-tos on how to do that.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't wait to watch that. That's amazing.
Oh, yay. I just want everyone to work and be able to work smart, because we this is a business for a lot of us, and it's not just about pushing pixels at all. And when you get training out in the normal world, everyone's just saying, oh, how do you retouch? And I'm like, well, how do you estimate a retouching job? What are you looking for? How do you communicate with your client over retouching?
Right.
And you don't get it in school either. So we get it here because Dave has this here. Yay.
And Lisa, we were talking about how important these type of summits, conferences are. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I have to say, God, I'm gonna really date myself. I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, 30 plus years doing this. And it's really easy for me to fall into this arrogant thinking of, well, who's going to show me anything? Please, what are you going to show me? But I got to tell you, technology is changing so rapidly. And I assure you, I would be completely, what's the word? I'd be done in my industry if I didn't stay current. And how do I stay current? These things. There is not, I was telling Dave this, we were having a conversation a few weeks ago. I learn something every single time from these, every single time. And one of the most beautiful things about these kind of conferences, the way Dave does it, is he'll have maybe 2 or 3 courses that include masking and selecting, but everyone does it differently. Right. So what happens is by the end of the summit, you really are granular on this and you understand it in a more complex and complete manner than you would if you just watched how to mask tutorial, if that makes sense. Yeah. And how do we stay current and relevant? Yeah. Nice. And we're in this, Dave, we're in the chat. Like when the class is there, you have access to us. You can ask us questions. So it's not like, oh, here's our information and we're leaving. Bye. No, we're here. Hey, Lisa, I had this job. I couldn't figure out how to do it. What would you advise? Yeah,
that's one of the many benefits of VIP passes, that VIPs have that opportunity to leave a comment and a question, and have instructors whenever they're able to jump in and come up with some ideas for them.
Yeah.
Great. And Tim, would you like to introduce yourself and let us know about your presentations, your sessions? Yeah.
I would love to. So I'm Tim Gray, and I produce a lot of content through my Gray Learning website, mostly video training courses, Pixology Magazine. And we've talking about the length of time some of us have been working in this. Some of you might already get my email newsletter, the Ask Tim Gray email newsletter that I've been publishing for more than 20 years.
Wow.
It boggles every time I talk about it. It still boggles my mind that people have been reading emails from me for this long, but it keeps on going. Surprisingly, there appears to be no end to questions from photographers. So thank you to all the photographers who send questions in. And it's funny because when I'm teaching, somehow I'm learning at the same time, and part of what I'm learning is about myself. And I've started to realize I'm considerable control freak, and that sort of gets into the topic of the 2 classes that I'll be teaching for the Photoshop Virtual Summit. And so actually I can give you a little bit of a teaser while I talk about this, if you want to bring up my screen there, Andrew. All good? Excellent. So we'll start off with the class on leveraging layer groups in Photoshop. And this is one of those little features. It literally seems like a really tiny feature. And if you've just dabbled, or if you've just gotten a little bit of a sense of it, it seems that layer groups are just folders. And that's all well and good. We use folders to organize our photos and other files on our hard drives. And layer groups certainly can help you organize your layers when you start to have a lot of layers on the layers panel in Photoshop. And I'll certainly talk about that in more detail during the class, of course. But I want to give you a little teaser of sort of the end goal in my mind, which is exercising control with these layer groups, and especially when it comes to applying targeted adjustments. The same concepts would apply for composite imaging, for example. And so here I have a couple of adjustment layers, and those adjustment layers are inside of a layer group. That layer group has a layer mask. This is a capability that many photographers and other Photoshop users don't realize is possible. We can add layer masks to a layer group. And since this layer mask reflects the sky, these adjustments that are inside of that layer group only affect the sky. That's really cool. So I can go adjust my curves adjustment in this case, for example, and I'll be adjusting the sky. But wait, there's more. Because we can stack these layer groups. They're like folders, and we can have subfolders. And so if you take a closer look here, you'll see that I also have an additional layer group with a gradient layer mask. And so the adjustment layers are inside a layer group with a sky mask, and that layer group in turn is inside of another layer group with a gradient mask. And so I'll go make some wild changes here. In fact, let's simplify that adjustment so it's a little more obvious. You can see that my curves adjustment here is only affecting the sky. It's not affecting the landscape here. And it's affecting the sky in a graduated fashion. So it's gradually going from the top of the image down to the bottom, tapering off as it goes. And I can go back, hypothetically speaking, if I had made any mistakes creating the selection of the sky, which of course is impossible because I use the sky selection tool that's based on AI. So I've got a great selection of the sky, but I could go change that layer mask as needed. I can go change the gradient. Obviously, I can go refine my adjustments. And so I have tremendous control mixing and matching multiple layer groups together. I could go beyond just 2 in this case, but I can go 3, 4, 5 layer groups if that would be helpful for a particular scenario that I'm working on. And it just gives you not only an organizational benefit, but real power in terms of applying targeted adjustments. And the other area where I'll be focusing on becoming a control freak in Photoshop relates to color correction. So it's called Perfect Color in Photoshop. And I'll switch to another image here.
Okay.
So whenever you want to bring that up, I thank
Yep,
Sandra. And so I'm going to cover a wide variety of tools, tips, adjustments that are aimed at helping you optimize the color in your photos. I'll talk about, for example, the thing I hear from a lot of photographers is that they don't have a good eye for color. They look at an image, they have no idea what to do to the color. And so some little tricks for playing around with adjustments to get a better sense of the color that's actually there. And perhaps more importantly is then doing something about it and using a variety of tools. I'll show you adjustment layers and some other adjustment types. And one of my favorite capabilities actually is using Camera Raw, which we generally think of as a tool for processing a raw capture. But Camera Raw is also available as a filter in Photoshop. So I have an image here. I've created a copy of my background image layer. There's a variety of ways we could approach this, but I just want to show you quickly here. If I go to the filter menu and choose Camera Raw filter, that will bring up the Camera Raw filter. And one of the features that I really like in Camera Raw, whether we're working directly on a raw capture originally or later as a filter, is color grading. We can apply different, what amount to color adjustments to different areas of the photo based on highlights, shadows, or midtones. So just as a quick example, this photo's, I feel that the highlights here are a little too yellow, so I want to shift them toward blue, the opposite of yellow. The shadows, however, are too blue. I want to shift it toward yellow, the opposite of blue. Well, those are two opposing adjustments. I want the opposite thing in different areas of the image. But just taking a quick look, and I'll cover this in a lot more detail in my class on Perfect Color in Photoshop, but I can take the highlights and shift those within color grading down toward a more blue appearance. I could then take the shadows in this case toward a more kind of yellow appearance, and I'll exaggerate this a little bit so that it's a little bit stronger effect. And I'll turn off the adjustment so there's before and then after. And again, a bit exaggerated in this case, but you can see that I'm shifting the highlights away from yellow toward blue, while at the same time shifting the shadows away from blue and toward yellow, which is just one of the many examples that I'll give you in more detail in my class on perfect color in Photoshop.
Great. Nice.
And that's another example what Lisa was referring to, because we have, along with Tim, Daniel Gregory is also doing a class on color, taking a slightly different take and approach. So I think the two combined together gives a really, really good amount of knowledge of the world of color and how to approach, dealing with color issues and how to recognize them and so on.
Yeah, and even just the different voices, the different way of thinking about the adjustments, of thinking about the image, the way you approach the image itself, along with, to Dave's point, the different techniques that you can use. There really is a lot to be said for getting different perspectives from, in this case, different Photoshop users. I always say photographers because I'm a photographer, but regardless of what you're doing in Photoshop, it's a complicated application. There's a lot going on there. And so the more you can get some different perspectives, especially as you start getting a little bit more advanced, more comfortable in Photoshop, it really will pay off, giving you a depth and breadth of knowledge going beyond just learning, an individual technique a single way.
I want to jump in. Oh, sorry, sweetie. I want to jump in on that. So for example, in my two courses, one course I talk about that illustration look, that Drew Struzan kind of Hollywood poster illustration look, using brushes. Aaron Nace has an amazing class on brushes in this section. And I talk about using these brushes in the production, retouching fast. I have these hair brushes that I think are amazing. You can use, but Aaron talks about how to make them. So you can extrapolate into, here's a splatter brush for an illustration look. Here's a hairbrush. Wow, I have an idea for a brush, but how do I make it? Aaron's class talks about step by step, 1, 2, 3. How do you make a brush? And it's fantastic. They dovetail beautifully.
Nice.
Yeah, I think when when Lisa and I were doing the post-production summit at a recent show, one of the things that we were mentioning is we're always kind of, recommended to highlight the newest tools. But when you have 20 different instructors, how do you make sure that the instructors don't teach the same thing? Well, that's the beauty of having Dave Cross at the steering wheel, right? Because he completely understands, to more so than a large, even so me, what tools there are. And he can specifically delineate what each person is going to talk about. And because of his extensive knowledge, he knows that he's not going to have overlap when it comes to tools. So when you walk away from this summit, you are guaranteed to learn so many different things from so many different instructors. And you're able to, like Lisa just eloquently pointed out, you're able to really take the chunks of information from the different instructors and then have that light bulb moment as a user and say, okay, well, I learned this from Lisa. I learned this from Aaron. I'm going to figure out how to do my own brush, So it's great.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that I get quite often is, this is the 4th summit. Does that mean it's going to be a repeat of the classes that have been in previous summits? And my answer is always, well, no, but there's always going to be a slight overlap in the topic areas, because if there's going to be a Photoshop event, people are going to talk about layers. So obviously there's going to be classes on layers. But for example, this time we have the one and only Julianne Cost doing I think it's called 25 tips for layers, but it's more than that because that's what she does. So in previous summits, there were classes on layers and masks. So there are this time, but again, from a different person, a different perspective, maybe more on tips and tricks versus introducing things. But at the same time, we also have classes if there are people that are just starting out. There's a class called Photoshop for Beginners that Nicole Young is doing, and Matt Kloskowski is doing one that was called 10 Things I Wish I Knew When I First Started Using Photoshop. So we still have topics that will reach all levels. So no matter how long you've been using Photoshop, even if I was a very experienced user, I would still watch Matt's class because you just know there's going to be some little gem that's going to pop up along the way that's going to be useful to you.
Excellent. And they will be a focus on selections, layers, and masks, just like his T-shirt said.
Yes, yes. Also, I'm gonna, if I don't mind tooting a horn here for a second, that VIP membership is no joke. I mean, I'm putting in a 200-page booklet on how to build brushes in there, and it's just kind of a little. Oh, by the way, in the VIP, there's this book you get, and I'm not the only one. There's a bunch of content coming from all sorts of instructors. And yeah, Dave, I don't know quite how to emphasize so much what's under the hood in that VIP, but and Bert's class, holy crap.
Yeah, so
I do have a graphics. So Dave, shall I pop that up? And
yeah, sure. And while you're doing that, I can mention that I always ask the instructors to provide extra bonus material if they're able to. And this year, the team went above and beyond because in past years we've always had, some bonus videos, a few actions, some good stuff, definitely very good. But this year it's like I haven't added it up, but I know that along with Bert's 45-minute class, Matt did 2 half-hour classes that are kind of extensions on his classes. Ben did 25 minutes, an extension on one of his classes. Nice. Christy has her mini course on retouching. There's a series of other. Gregory did a couple of other bonus videos. I did a bonus video. Lisa's crazy book on brushes, along with some other things. Let's see what else. Khara, she's doing a class that's really fun called the Photoshop Kitchen. It's like cooking up masterpieces, and she's provided like a 50-piece of objects and elements you could use in collages. Kirk Young's doing a class on creating these really cool light effects, to call them streaks, light effects. Mm-hmm. And he's included some of the overlays that he created in that class, and it just keeps going. I mean, there's PDFs and actions and cheat sheets and everything else, and those are just the bonuses. Every instructor is also providing some form of class notes to accompany their class. And then you also, of course, get lifetime access to watch the classes as often as you want. And if you're the kind of person that just likes to listen to about Photoshop, you even have audio files you can download of the classes to listen to while you're working out. If you're a Photoshop geek, that's the ultimate.
Excellent. Yeah. So to review with the VIP Access Pass, you get all this. You get 40 video sessions. You get audio downloads. You get session notes, practice exercises and files, and it sounds like a lot of other goodies that are thrown in that can't even be listed here. So lots that you get with the VIP Access Pass. And main thing is you get to watch it on your own time as well, because it is a busy life.
Yeah. So. And one thing that I don't know that we've ever really mentioned before is I give the instructors, ask them to do aim for around a 45-minute class. And I would say, with a few exceptions, most classes are not 45 minutes, they're 50 minutes or 55 or 59, which is fine because it's just, there's more information for you. And then, like I said, on top of that, the VIPs are adding even more. Like Ben was telling me that he's doing a class on luminosity masking, but it's not using channels. He's figured out a way to do luminosity masking using the curves adjustment. And, he did his 45-minute class and then said, there's more I want to talk about. So just went ahead and recorded another 25 minutes for VIP. Right. So it's amazing stuff. And have we mentioned the dates yet? I don't think we have.
So let's pop
that kind of a small detail. It's on there, but it's next week. It starts Monday. Gosh.
Very soon.
Woohoo.
I got to go.
Next week. It's in 2 days. 1 day.
Yeah.
So Monday, May 2nd through the 6th.
Okay. So here's my to-do list of things I still have to finish off. Most of them are crossed off, but there's a few still left to go.
We need to send Dave some coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, since we're talking about the VIP pass, just mention that we have the regular price is $159 for all that amazing content, but right now there's an early bird special that goes until Monday at noon Eastern Daylight Time. That's when the early bird discount ends, and it's $99. So I haven't worked out the math. I know at $159 it's something like $4 a class. So with $99,
wow,
it's even less.
very nice. So make sure to sign up for the Photoshop Virtual Summit. You can sign up for free, but remember there is VIP Access Pass option. You can go to bit.ly Photoshop-virtual-summit-4. Or you can reach out to me and I can always send you the link, and it will be in the recording as well. But I want
if I can mention one very important thing, if you are signing up for either the free or the paid pass, there'll be a registration form. Let me plead with you to ensure that your email address is entered correctly, because that's how we communicate about everything. So there's been more than a few times where someone has put in something at gmail.com and then they wonder why they didn't get their emails. So it's double, triple check your email address when you sign up to make sure that it's correct. And that way you'll get the communications about how to join in once the summit starts on Monday.
Excellent. And I just wanted to quickly run through. There's so many great people speaking. So as you can see here, there's Julianne Cost, Lightroom Queen. We got Dave Cross, who's been speaking. He's been doing this for years. Great stuff. Jesús Ramirez from Photoshop Training Channel, Aaron Nace from Flern, Kristina Sherk, retoucher, Colin Smith from Photoshop Cafe, Matt Kloskowski, Ben Willmore, RC Concepcion, Corey Barker, Tim Gray here, Lisa Carney.
I just want to get all these people in a room.
Right?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, that's the next phase. We'll figure out a way to make it happen in person someday.
Come to LA.
Yeah. Honey,
Actually,
we're
it's
the
gonna
only ones
happen
in LA.
Florida.
I'm like,
It's going to
we're the
happen
only
in
ones-
Tampa, Florida, if it's going to
That's
happen
right.
at all.
Amen. Amen. The boss has spoken.
Florida's
Yeah,
Well,
2 miles from my
sunshine.
house.
There's sunshine in either of those places, so I don't care. You guys decide, and I'll just show up.
Cool. So any last words, any last things that you want to bring up about the summit? Everybody?
I don't know, I
Just
just want to
to-
encourage people to participate, show up.
Yeah.
Show up in your career, show up in your hobby, whatever it is, participate, because it's so easy to isolate and be by yourself and just YouTube. And no. This is so much bigger and so much more interesting.
All right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
curated.
And curated by the best of the best. And this is, like Lisa said, I also learn something new every single time I watch these summits. And so even if you think that you are one of those people who's very proficient at Photoshop, there is still so much that you can learn that could potentially, I'm really excited to watch Lisa's class on speeding up your workflow, because that's something we all strive to do. And I'm sure I'm going to pick up a few tips, if not a ton of tips.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
And Tim, you were saying?
Yeah, well, it's curated. Lisa mentioned YouTube. Obviously, there is countless content on YouTube. There's so much out there, so much just related to Photoshop. But now, how do you find the good content with the good tips? And it's not going to lead you astray, give you bad habits in Photoshop.
Amen.
And part of that is from learning from the best. I like to think I'm in that group. I know Dave is great at picking out the best instructors in the industry. And so we've got a really good group of instructors here who are good at what they do and good at teaching and interesting topics and a variety of topics. And it is just a great way to learn a variety of different angles at coming at Photoshop for all sorts of different purposes. And, regardless of what your focus is, I mentioned I'm a photographer first and foremost. And so I might look at some of the other presentations and think, well, that's not relevant to photography. I don't need to paint something from scratch, or I don't create composite images. But so many of these different techniques can be applied in a variety of different ways. The targeted adjustments that I'll be talking about, for example, those techniques apply equally to creating composite images. And so there's so much overlap. Even if a topic doesn't seem like it's a fit to what you typically do in Photoshop, I would encourage you to tune in and check it out. And I'll bet you'll learn something, and you might find some inspiration as well.
Great.
You know what? I want to jump in on something. Again, I'm sorry. I'm the one talking about work and careers and jobs. That's kind of my focus. Other people could talk about other stuff. I will tell you, Tim said something really casually, just threw that out. And I really want to highlight it for a second. He was like, not leading you astray. not leading you down bad habits, because I cannot tell you, I hire people for retouching. I have seen some books where the books look decent, like, okay, I'll give you a shot, and their production skills are unusable. Like literally can't work for me because they don't have the proper building techniques and styles. So it's not just about, can you make a pretty picture, is can you work? Are you functional? Can you work if that's your gig, or you want that to be your gig? And so this is really important in these summits, that people teach you proper production technique.
Great.
I know it's
Andrew,
not sexy.
One last thing I'd like
It
to
is.
mention on the main summit site, and I'm sure you have a link there to it. I just added a video which is like FAQ, so I get a lot of questions coming in about, how does it work? What are the classes? What level does it apply to me? All that kind of stuff. So I just did a video where I answer some of the most common questions, so that way people have any things they're wondering about and want to find out. That's a simple way to do it, and it's just on the main Photoshop Summit site. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see my face going and then answering questions.
Great.
In my other brand new Photoshop Summit t-shirt, by the way.
Oh.
Great. So let's see, jump back here. So just a reminder that the early bird VIP pass deadline is this Monday, right, Dave? Monday,
Yep.
May 2nd. Yeah. At 12 noon Eastern time. And a reminder, that is only $99 for so many sessions, so many extra bonuses that you get when it's regularly $159. So get that by Monday. And you can sign up for the Photoshop Virtual Summit at that link, bit.ly, Photoshop Virtual Summit 4. That'll be underneath the recording when I post this everywhere. And just wanted to remind you once again, great lineup of people. So 20 world-class instructors, a lot of great people that I've been following in the industry for years and years, really great people. Yeah. And don't forget, there are some really nice things you get with the VIP Access Pass. 40 video sessions, audio download, session notes, practice exercises and files. And
And a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, there were 3 things on the last Photoshop Virtual Summit that I learned that I instantly put in my workflow. Instantly. And I've been doing them ever since. So as Kristina was saying, it's like, we're always waiting. And she showed me something at the last conference we were at. And I was like, holy crap, that's amazing. Oh, now that's in my workflow now. So seriously, for folks out there who maybe haven't tried this yet, the summit, if us 30-year veterans are saying, hey, we're learning something, I assure you, you're going to learn something.
Great.
Okay, I'm done. I taught Lisa Carney something. I'll see you guys later.
And Dave, I was going to ask this, but someone else is also asking, how can we get that t-shirt?
Yeah.
Is that
So
for sale?
they are for sale. There's this one, and I don't have the other one, but it's like looks like it's one of a sports logo saying Photoshop Virtual Summit 4, and then this one with the logo. So once the summit starts, there you will see a link to a store where you can order. It's one of those places where they take orders for a period of time and then ship them out directly to people. So there's different shirts in different colors and all that good stuff.
Nice.
Oh, and $1 from every shirt sold goes to UNICEF in their efforts to help people of Ukraine.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Great.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending. It was great. And a lot of exciting sessions coming up. So it's going to be a jam-packed week, and don't miss it. So make sure to sign up, and also be aware that, life gets in the way. So, don't miss out on the fact that you can get the VIP Access Pass at a discounted price on Monday, by Monday. So don't wait. Life will pass you by. So, all right. So, thanks everyone for being here. It was really great. And,
Thanks, Andrew.
I'm excited. Photoshop Virtual Summit 4 coming up this week. Thanks, everyone.
See y'all there.
Bye.
Yeah.